to know God or to love God. Now the scripture is filled with many portions that encourages us to know God. One of my favorites says, His divine power has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness, according to the knowledge of He who has called us by His own glory, that is Jesus. Scripture also says that those that know their God shall be strong and they shall do exploit. He said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge or for ignorance. That means the scripture in more than one place exhorts or stresses the importance of knowing God. And of course, you need to know the God that you serve. But then, when you go to the scripture, which I'll be focusing on today, just 3 verses. The scripture now tries to compare knowledge and love. That while your knowledge is good, your knowledge can actually puff you up while love builds up. That means knowledge in itself cannot build up a person if it is just knowledge as knowledge. I hope to explain that in the course of this video. It is important that we love this God that we know. It becomes dangerous if all you do is know God. Knowledge can make you begin to think that you can manipulate God. Knowledge is the reason why we have a lot of people in church claiming that they love God. And the funny thing about knowledge of God, it can make you seem like you actually love God. Because you know His ways. You know how to obtain mercy. You know the words to say for deliverance. That doesn't translate to loving Him. So we have too many people knowing God and few people loving God. That's why too many arguments have come up in the church. Too many people want to prove what they know about God and what they know about the Bible and forget how that their knowledge affects people. And that is what Paul was trying to look at. If you check the whole of 1 Corinthians
chapter 8.
He begins to say that what we know can become an obstruction for someone else. So love of God is what keeps you, is what builds you as a Christian. Not just the knowledge. Except that knowledge comes from the standpoint of love. That is the only point where the knowledge of God makes sense. You see, here's what the Spirit of the Lord whispered to me while I was meditating on this. He says, when Lucifer decided to attack the kingdom of heaven, it was not as a result of amnesia. He did not forget who God was. He still knew who God was. In fact, he wanted to be like God. He has known Him so much that he wanted to be like Him. So why attack? What he lost was his love. We have rebellious people in church, yet they have read the Bible Genesis to Revelation. I am not downplaying the knowledge of God by any way. I am saying, let your knowledge come from the standpoint of love. Here's one thing you have to think about. Not everybody that knows you loves you, but everybody that loves you knows you. Because when you are seeking to know someone because you love the person, that kind of knowledge helps you love the person even more. But when you are just knowing for the sake of information, that kind of knowledge can make you try to manipulate the person, wiggle your way out through vain smartness. Many people have enemies that know them more than their friends. So knowledge in itself doesn't prove that you belong to this kingdom. It is love. It is the love that builds you up, that helps you grow. And you see, love is a deliberate attempt. Love is a deliberate act. Love will not fall upon you. As you seek knowledge, that's how you also seek love. Love is built. So now the things I'm telling you are in the scripture. Please do your best to read that 1 Corinthians
chapter 8.
Especially the first 3 verses. It says knowledge puffs up while love builds up. He said, he who thinks he knows doesn't know as he ought to. But he who loves God is known by God. Now, too many people concern themselves about knowing God that they don't stop to ask themselves, does this God know me? And this scripture tells us the parameter through which God will know you. So it says that while knowing God is beautiful, but God knowing you means that God can trust you. God knowing you means that God can commit weighty matters into your hands. So if you stop at knowing Him, chances are He may not know you if you do not love Him also. This is what the scripture is telling us. This is what I'm challenging you. Move from move from knowledge and move into love. Been in ministry for long, but the Lord had to tell me in recent times that I need to do my love test. I need to check my love for Him. Knowing God, you can preach a good sermon and yet not love Him. Knowledge can do that for you. Lack of love is what makes people come to church, lift up holy hands, shout as if they are going to die, and then go back to sin. That is lack of love. Because if you love someone, you will never deliberately hurt the person. But if you know someone, you can even invent ways to hurt that person. So, knowing God or loving God, I say love Him, then know Him because you love Him. God bless you.